Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where today's most exciting solopreneurs share their startup stories. They also deliver tangible strategies that they would implement personally if starting their business over today. Each episode is a startup masterclass. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
This is Kevin Pruitt with Rising Tide Startups. My guest today is Nate Turner. Nate, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit about Nate Turner. Tell our audience a little bit about Nate Turner.
Yeah, so I've been doing marketing for a little over 12 years, and was at an agency for a little while, and then in 2011 joined Sprout Social, very early stage. I was the first marketer, I think about the 18th employee, and really just got into a great company early on, and ended up sort of being in a pivotal role with the inbound model that sort of worked out with the business. And so I ended up being there for 8.5, almost 9 years, and helped the company grow from 0 to 100 million in revenue.
Wow.
Just got to see a lot of great stuff along the way, and different phases of growth. And so when I left last year, there was I think a little over 600 employees, and really just a great run. And the company is IPO'd, and so a lot of great stuff there, across a lot of growth marketing and demand generation experience. And then for a little over a year, I've been consulting with SaaS companies and working across a lot of different areas of growth, some very early stage, some growth stage companies. And that's been a lot of fun, just to get exposure to more companies and meet more people and grow. And through that, really sort of found myself gravitating towards a lot of the content SEO aspects of growth, and being able to help people get results that way. And so that, along with some of my experience over the years, led to the founding of 10Speed, which is a content optimization company. And so we have been running for several months now, and are helping companies optimize the content that they already have. So content that you have that either was performing and has sort of declined over time, or content that's doing well but has potential to do even better. We're helping guide the companies on how to optimize that content to get better performance, more traffic, leads, revenue, sales. So that's sort of been my, last 10, 12 years of experience, and just really kind of excited for what's ahead.
So walk me through the specifics of 10Speed, and then I want to circle back kind of, time at Sprout and kind of that transition.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Specifically, you said that, we are trying to optimize content that is already produced. Why are you focusing on content that's already produced versus helping them produce new content or whatever? Is that just a niche that you've chosen?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely within the umbrella of content marketing, which can include a lot of different tactics and services and whatnot. We are pretty specifically focused on that niche, and it's partly because we've seen just how well it works, and how often you can get amazing results, and sometimes 2, 3, 4x the traffic and then subsequent leads and performance to an existing piece of content just from optimizing it. And we also, I think it's still a little bit early, and a little bit of an education component for companies to understand that just pumping out new content every month is effective, but there's sort of, when you go back and look at performance of past content, you realize that there's a lot that was doing well and is no longer doing well, or search intent has changed, or algorithms have changed. And there's a lot of potential for, over time, you continue to produce content around the same topics, you start to have internal competition. So I think it has been a little bit of like an educational component to it as well, and kind of helping people understand this. But having been doing it for several years and seeing the results is quite great. And there's also, for marketing leaders, as we're working with them, it's really great because they see the potential to to fold this into what they're doing pretty easily and be able to get results pretty quickly when it's something that isn't, like, hey, let's work together to create an ebook that's going to take a lot of writing and a lot of editing and production and all this stuff. Like it's content that's already there. Sometimes some small tweaks, sometimes some fairly large overhaul, but by and large is a fairly light lift to get some good results and get them pretty quickly usually. So that's part of what's just exciting, compelling, is to be able to work with someone, get that done, and within 20, 30 days for them to be able to see the amount of impact that's having is exciting.
And that's any content. That's video, that's written, is it anything that might be on their website, or are you talking about social content as well? Or
yeah, it's a great question. It's primarily written content. So I think blog content is the most common, but there are certainly plenty of companies that have a lot of detailed support documentation that's indexed and written. And then there's, fully open, ungated guides and a lot of different types of written content there. And we're also kind of looking at how that, some of the blog and support and API documentation type of content is potentially competing with product pages or home pages, things like that. And so that is part of the equation as well.
I like the way you mentioned just the internal competition. People don't even think about that. I mean, sometimes you're actually competing against yourself.
Yeah, it's very common. Yes. Especially like the more time goes on, like it's just natural that you're going to write about something in one dimension and then, in another. And over time you end up with a homepage that mentions, a specific topic, and a feature page and a solution page and case study and 3 blog posts and support docs. And yeah, it's just a very natural thing that happens, especially within your sort of core focus and product offerings and whatnot. So so that's definitely a big part of it as well.
So let's go back to the early days of Sprout. So you said you were the first, I think I wrote down, you were the first marketer at Sprout Social. So I'm picturing that you show up and there's a desk and there's maybe, and you bring your own laptop and there's nothing else and there's nobody in the company that can help you. It's like, we're hiring you to figure this out for us.
Yes. Much of that is true. We were actually working out of a Groupon conference room was the office space at the time. I did use my own laptop for the first 2 weeks until mine arrived. So you're dead on there. It was definitely not a lot of hand holding. There was Justin, CEO, is a very sharp guy, so he kind of had tested some stuff and played around with some things. I really just kind of prove early traction. And they had worked with some consultants early on. And so there was some foundation, but definitely was, really up to me to kind of figure out where to take it from there. So it was a, 1-page website at the time, just kind of one long homepage. So started building out feature pages and getting analytics set up correctly and testing out some paid channels and figuring out, getting how to get bloggers to write about us and kind of all that stuff. That was the way things worked back in 2011, and lots obviously changed since then. So but yeah, it was definitely pretty raw and open field in terms of where to take it.
The Wild West. Yeah. I can imagine your internal competition was like different sections on the page. Like anchors on the page.
Yes.
Am I going to the top of the page or the bottom of the page?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That definitely was not an issue yet.
So did you bring that particular skill set to the table, or were you just hired because you had a great resume and you did well in college, or you did this, or you did that, and we're just figuring it out together type thing? Or were you actually doing something similar before?
Yeah, I was at a small like internet marketing agency before that. And so I had SEO skill set and then paid management like PPC, as well as some of the like analytics, website development. So I think that was definitely helpful because they were at least far enough along to know that like digital marketing was sort of a skill set in what was going to kind of help drive more free trials and bring in new customers. So
right.
that was definitely part of it. And I had a pretty pretty big conviction in SEO being sort of a big lever for Sprout long term. But also they were spending a decent amount on PPC, and then there was a need to have someone that had experience there. So
Mm-hmm.
I had worked with a lot of like small and local businesses, but also had some larger accounts that were good experience to bring there. So I would say it's a decent amount of qualification, but also I happened to actually just email the general email address of the company and just said, I love what you're doing. This is what I do. I'd love to do it for you. So actually it was a bit serendipitous in that as well, that was
Great
even
timing,
able to, even able to kind of get in front of them. And so it definitely was not like, I don't think a huge search for that role as much as kind of getting in front of them at the right time and having that right skill set.
So walk us through just really quickly kind of into the transition. So I want to move from Sprout to 10 Speed, or actually the consulting and that led to 10 Speed. But so think about like the last time, or the last bit of time you were there at Sprout. What was going through your mind, and what was your particular role as well? What was going through your mind that said, you know what, I really need to go out on my own? I mean, had you reached kind of a glass ceiling that you couldn't get past? Had you just had the entrepreneurial itch to try this on your own? Had you, I mean, you kind of grown stale in the role? I mean, what was the mindset process that kind of led to, I'm going to escape? Because, often they're like golden handcuffs, that, you've earned so much, I guess, money, and you've done so well in a role that it's hard to transition out on your own. So the mindset of like, what was going through your mind that caused you to say, hey, I'm kind of done here? Is it, and I'm not, did you hear about the golden handcuffs, that you're earning so much that it's hard to transition out on your own, that type of thing. And so walk us through that process. You thought, it's time for me to make this leap.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of factors. I had, for a long time, had a desire to start my own company, and really had an idea of starting a SaaS company, but just didn't have any specific ideas and didn't really have anything to launch into. But I think the entrepreneurial side of that was kind of always there. And, so at the end, I was really responsible for all of the inbound acquisition, so new business acquisition, and marketing operations. So really kind of all of the marketing technology, data, and then like performance marketing. And it worked very closely with sales and the sales leadership, and a number of teams. And so had a pretty cross collaborative role there. And I think, to be honest, it was like, kind of reached a point where you kind of seen everything there. And for me, like I had sort of come to terms with the fact that I didn't necessarily want to be like a big long-term career CMO.
Right.
Where I think had I stayed for, 4 or 5 more years and worked through IPO and post IPO, I would have gained a lot of desirable experience there. But it just, that to me didn't get me excited. And so I think any sort of what I was going to get in experience moving forward became less appealing. And then there's also just, some of the like flexibility and being able to kind of do your own thing and move back into the building phase and work with a number of other companies. And I had, entertained stuff from recruiters over time and just could never really find any one role that felt compelling enough to make me want to leave Sprout. Right. And so I think those factors were sort of, I think what's ahead isn't as compelling in terms from a growth stage, and there's not any other roles that I really want to go out and do. And so just kind of realizing that over time, I had a lot of people ask me, how do you hire a first marketer? What skill sets should we be looking for? How do we get our first customers? How do we grow from where we're at currently, or if we're stuck? And so I really just started to kind of explore the idea of consulting and being able to work with other companies in that fashion, and just kind of gained momentum there, and eventually kind of felt it was the right time to to roll off and
Make that move.
do my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So to talk us through that day you're packing up your little cardboard box there in your office and you are walking out and you're going, what have I done?
I mean, I think I felt pretty good because I had worked with leadership and had a pretty long transition off just to make sure they were set up well and could kind of like get the right team in place. And so definitely had a lot of time to transition out and have my goodbyes and different emotional moments and being proud of what we built and all that. But I also that long ramp off also kind of gave me a chance to line up clients and whatnot. So I actually walked out that day, I think it was a Friday, and had several contracts that started the following Monday. So didn't, in hindsight, I probably should have given myself a little more time to relax and wind down.
I had a whole Sunday afternoon to make the transition.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was good because for that reason, there was really no panic or anything. It was kind of, everything was lined up and felt good about where I had to go from there. So,
and there was no non-compete clause that you signed, or was there really a direct competition, or was it just in a kind of a similar space, but it wasn't directly related to what you were doing with Sprout?
Yeah, I had a non-compete for sure, but it was I think really just was like I couldn't go help a direct competitor. So
right,
none of the companies I was working with were really an issue there. So so it was no issue there on that front.
Yeah. So talk us through this. You said you did some consulting, and then what led to moving from just kind of a consultant position to founding 10-Speed?
Yeah, I think so. There's two factors. One is, like I said, just noticing in my sort of my own process and the way I work through and think about companies' data and look at their opportunity and potential and what I was guiding them on. I guess to back up, like I was in most engagements working in sort of a fractional head of marketing or a fractional head of growth type of role. So really kind of leading and like giving a lot of guidance on overall strategy and how to build the team and a lot of that stuff.
Right. Kind of a contract role almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And so in that, like I said, noticing my tendency to gravitate towards that, being much more passionate about that aspect of what I was doing and also helping to get results there. And so that was one aspect. And then the other was really just not that I haven't enjoyed consulting, but definitely reached a point where I'd sort of like fully booked myself kind of in it. And then it was like, oh, well, I'm kind of like a lot of the building phase of this sort of feels like it's already done. And I'm capped out and I either have to like start hiring people to help me in this, which I just didn't really want to build a company under my own name as sort of, Nate Turner Consulting or anything like that. And so that was part of it too, was just like, I think I really want to like build something bigger than just me and, something that can scale and still didn't really have any specific software company ideas or anything like that. And so, that's where it really kind of focused in on like, well, this is what I really like doing with clients. I think this can be a very scalable service. It's something that we can build a company around. And so that was really the other driving factor, was just to be able to build something larger than myself. So
10-Speed was launched when?
Like June, July, started kind of finding some beta customers and working that way. So
in 2020.
Yes.
Wow.
2020. Yep.
Mid-pandemic, we're just going to launch a company. Hey, we're all virtual anyway, so I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah. And I think it's, yes, definitely a lot of hurdles there. But also the nature of what we're doing. I think there's certainly some upsides to the current situation, I guess, because it's we're positioned that really we're like less than half the cost of a full-time hire, and it's also a fairly difficult skill set to hire for, like
Hmm.
for companies to really know, like, this is someone that gets it, knows how to do it, understand what's going into it. So I think there's less risk for companies to be able to engage with us um, and know that it's not the commitment of bringing someone on full time when the future is maybe a little less certain, and it's just less expensive for them, and more directly just getting those results without a lot of the other stuff that comes with that. So so I think there, in some cases, there's some silver lining, I guess you would say. Yeah.
I would say your company could also offer a breadth of knowledge that a single individual can't
Yeah,
provide. And
correct.
you're
Yep.
kind of taking the risk if you're saying I'm just going to go out there and hire a marketing person, in house.
Hmm.
It's completely dependent on their skills, their experience, their work ethic, their whatever. But
Yeah.
if I bring in like a contracted service that is doing that for me, number one, I'm not paying benefits to you. Number
Correct.
two,
Yes.
I'm taking it on, and it could be for a window of time. I mean, it could be like we're going to do a trial run for 6 months or 12 months or whatever, and just try this out and see if it works, and be able to adjust kind of on the fly. I mean, even from a service standpoint with you type thing. So, I mean, I can see a
Yeah.
lot of benefits to that for sure.
Yeah.
So, what's been the response since you launched? Have you just been your cell phone just ringing off the hook? Your inbound, contact form on the website is just blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been good. I think we've been kind of like slowly moving out into more publicity and doing more to promote it. And so that's it's definitely not like tons of inbound leads just yet, but the folks we've talked to, a lot of interest, and as we're like, I think just wanted to really dial in the service and the process and
Mm-hmm.
stuff with the folks that we had before going too hard into promoting it and really
Right.
scaling it up. So definitely in that phase now of feeling good about the process, seeing great results, the folks that we're working with, and just kind of ready to scale up from there. So definitely the intention to get things hitting the form quite a bit and everything else. So that's kind of
You got to
where we're
get your
at. But
SEO to drive traffic to your inbound contact form.
exactly,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
I work so hard for everybody else. I don't even do my own website.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. It's what are the cobbler's children, whatever
That's
that
right.
saying
The
is.
children have no shoes. That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
right. Yeah, I love it.
yeah. That's definitely a problem for most in like agencies and stuff like that.
It'd be hard. So I know it's not just
Yeah.
you. So walk us through who else is involved with 10 Speed.
Yeah, so we really just have a small team at this point that are contract mostly,
Mm-hmm.
and intend to be growing and scaling. And as we're scaling up, we'll be bringing in folks full time and growing from there. So
But
that's
primarily related just to I guess improving SEO for content that is already produced. I mean, what are some of the kind of tertiary areas that you're kind of thinking about or involved in as well? I mean, are there new kind of offshoots you're kind of thinking about? Okay, early 2021, we may start this new added service or whatever.
sure. I mean, the most logical is, and we've already started to experience some of this, is we we start optimizing existing content for companies, and then they kind of want us to help with the new stuff that they're producing as well. So
Right.
expanding into that, where we're really doing um, the detailed briefs each month for both optimization and new. And so that's really just kind of giving them the keys to lay it all out correctly and have it optimized from the start and get better performance. And so that's really, I think, the most natural expansion is optimization, sort of at the core of what we do, but having a good grasp of what it takes to give guidance on how to optimize new content as well.
Mm-hmm.
But no real plans beyond that. I think there's definitely I have an interest in us building some more, at least internal tools. I don't think it would really reach a point of being a software product that would be like self-service, but I think going through the process enough and doing this even just for 4 or 5 months has been enough to really reach a point where we see some places where it's like, okay, use these APIs and, do a lot of this other stuff on the back end, and we could shave off a lot of time and really focus more on just like delivering results for customers. So
are you into security at all, of like how to guard my content that's online? I mean, from hackers or from, just that type of thing, or is it mainly just the kind of the marketing side of things?
Definitely just the marketing side. Yeah.
So that's I mean, it's such an interesting area, because I mean, 15 years ago, people didn't even know what SEO was, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you I mean, project into the future? Is SEO kind of here to stay? Does it evolve? Does it, what have you seen in I guess the 10 plus years or whatever you've kind of been in this space? I mean, how have you seen it change, other than, the dreaded penguin or panda or whatever,
Yeah.
Google attack that happens, every 2 or 3 years? But
yep.
how do you see it? Like, how has it evolved, and how do you see it evolving in the near future?
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's one of the things that drew me to SEO early on, was just how dynamic it was. And so it wasn't like, here's how everything works, and this is how it's going to work, and whatever, it was a very evolving thing, and the playing field was frequently being leveled. And so it just didn't feel like it was something that you were late into, or anything like that. It was like, this is, big update comes out, and you can know just as much as someone that's been doing it for a couple of years. And so certainly, I think, from 2010 to 2020, just significant amount of change and
Sure.
Evolution from Google, and therefore the tactics that work, and what's really shifted over time. But I think there's a couple mainstays that if you get to a high enough elevation, you're really looking at, like, some of the authority signals of, links and whatnot, and quality content, and good experience for users. Like, those are 3 things that if you just continue to abide by those at a high level, then you're typically on the right track. You're not trying to do anything spammy or
Right.
Hack the system some way. And so I think there's sort of that at the high level. And then I think moving forward, like it was a little over a year ago, or about a year ago, the BERT changes started to roll out, and then there's been more sort of throughout 2020. And so near term, I think there's just a lot on, like, the Google's significant improvement into, like, natural language processing, and their ability to understand the context of what's being searched and how to search that. And then within that, sort of the passages and rich snippets and structuring of content to make sure that in some of those longer tail and like deeper context type of things, that Google's actually able to pull out that piece of your content and do that. And then obviously voice search is continuing to grow. I don't think it swept in and disrupted everything quite as quickly as some people were expecting, but certainly continued to be growth there, and some attrition in page views for companies as voice search can continue to sort of take some of that over. So
Right.
I think those are probably 2 of the bigger areas. Just continue to, like, Google's ability to just continue to get better in understanding context and serving up the right thing, which for some people it does have a pretty disruptive impact. And then some of the voice search stuff too.
Let me ask you a really crazy question that kind of came to mind as you were talking about, because I'm thinking about, how Google, kind of does things internally, and it has kind of a knock-on effect to everybody that's trying to, optimize SEO on the back end of that. So does Google kind of closely guard how they optimize SEO internally? Do they have conferences where they bring in digital marketers and say, okay, guys, here is what we're looking for. Here, this is how you're going to rank higher in Google. If you do these things, I mean, is it kind of like you got to figure this out on your own, or are there places out there that Google's wide open? They say, you know what, if you do these things, this is exactly this, you'll have a benefit, and this is the road to glory here, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think that for a long time they've sort of mastered um, like a little bit of both. Like there's enough detail that it's not a complete black box, but they're definitely not laying it all out. Matt Cutts for a long time was sort of the big name, and he was really leading that engineering team that was improving the algorithms. And so he became like invaluable to the community in making videos and explaining how Google thinks about it, how they approach it, and really debunking some myths along the way. But it's not a new thing, but I think has grown in prevalence is really just like the sort of like liaison type of roles. So Google and a lot of other search engines have them, and they are essentially the like appointed spokesperson that can give some of that. And where I think it's really taken off over the last few years is like within Twitter, and that sort of gives really anyone a direct line. Like if you find those liaisons and look at who's tweeting them, what they're tweeting about, like there's a lot of good information that comes back. Again, not like laying it all out, and there's always a million caveats for different industries and product types and all that stuff. But definitely a decent amount. I would say more context given by Google in 2020 than there was in 2010. But still many variables that are unknown or less certain, I would say.
I would think that's almost a self-defeating possibility there. So, I mean, hypothetically, let's say that Google just kind of pulled back the curtain, and said, okay, here's exactly how you do it. Here's the way to optimize SEO. And you're thinking, if everybody does it, then you've kind of lost the whole gift of an optimized SEO, because now everybody is ranking. I mean, it's almost like they're offsetting each other, type thing. Yeah. So there has to be some kind of magic that they kind of hold back that would allow people to, to really, the ones that really figure this out are really going to benefit from this, more than the others. So,
and I think that honestly, it's my own opinion, but I think they could, but I think that laying it all out, I think it would increase like exploitation and some of that, the negative side, that they don't want, more than anything. Because I mean, realistically, I don't have a stat or a percentage, but just it's extremely common to come across websites that don't even use their title tags correctly, or the H1s and H2s and H3s, or duplicate content, or all these things that are like really just kind of like SEO basics, and people don't even have those down. So I think for the majority, like there's a lot already out there that could take them a long way, especially when you get deeper into crawlability and page speed and all kinds of stuff, that there's really a good amount of information out there. So I think it would really be just like the fringe and like the experts and folks that are really wanting to exploit that if they were to fully reveal it.
Right. That's a great point. That's a great point. Well, man, I could sit here and ask you questions all day, but you do have a weekend to get to. But wrap us up today with kind of, speak to us as if we're a potential client. And so who is your ideal avatar, and what's the, I don't want to, this is your time. You can give me the 30-second elevator pitch, or you can just kind of just generally talk about service, provided and stuff like that. But who would this benefit most?
Yeah. I mean, I think I touched a fair amount on what we do, and why, but for any company that has, at least hundreds of blog posts, if not more, there's certainly opportunity there to be doing some of that content optimization work. But really any, early growth stage companies, and not specific to startups or SaaS companies, anyone that really has a wealth of that written content and relies on inbound as an important part of their business. So getting that organic traffic and leads or sales to their products, whatever it might be, is really a great opportunity to help optimize that. And then in addition, like I said, companies that are wanting to just augment sort of their in-house writing with that deeper skill set of how to optimize the content from the start,
Right.
and do it the right way from the beginning, are great opportunities. We work with companies that have content marketers in-house, and we are able to kind of augment what they're doing, fold into their process pretty predictably with the briefs we're providing each month. Yeah, I think just anyone that has an interest and desire to be doing better in organic traffic with new content or existing content is a great candidate.
Well, Nate, thank you again for just taking the time today and just kind of sharing the story behind 10 Speed and behind Nate Turner as well, in that process. And is there anything I haven't asked you about? You just want to close us with today, and also tell people where the best place to find you online.
Yeah, I don't have anything else top of mind to touch on, but you can find us at 10speed.io, TENSPEED.io. You can also reach out hello@10speed.io.
Well, Nate, we really appreciate your time today, and just thank you for you playing your part and just helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Another episode in the books. We hope you heard some great takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and YouTube. As always, thanks for listening to Rising Tide.